Hey, Alon. You got to unmute yourself. Okay.
Okay, now.
All right. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We just had our Israeli guys. We always have like Friday lunch, but we didn't have it for a year now.
Right.
So today they reopened the opportunity. So we went to a Zafon in Sandy Springs, and it was very good.
Oh, you're talking about the restaurant.
Yeah, Zafon, it's like a Persian restaurant.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. Yeah, I ate there. It's been a while, but yeah, it was always very good.
Yeah, it's a good restaurant.
Yeah.
It just for us, especially that we are used to Mediterranean food, so.
Yep, some of my favorite food in the world. It's right from that area of the world, right?
Yeah.
You know, Persian, Greek, you know, even like a lot of Lebanese and Palestinian food. Really, really good.
Yeah.
It's all very similar though, you know. It's all So anyhow. Well, okay, so we got 5 of us. Okay, hi Veronica. Hi Rebecca. And we got Richard here as well.
Hello.
Okay, how are we all doing?
Good.
Okay.
I'm good. I don't know about everyone else.
I'm fine.
Oh, good.
You know, it's Friday. It's a nice sunny day, you know?
Yes.
So be a nice day to get out and get a little bit of sunshine if you haven't done that.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow, what is it? Tomorrow through like Monday or Tuesday is supposed to be cloudy. And then I think Tuesday it's supposed to start raining for about 3 or 4 days. So, you know, go.
It was 80 degrees in the car now.
I
Yes.
believe it.
Yes, I know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Hey, we're in Georgia. What do you want?
Yeah.
1 week, you know, you're freezing to death and it's wet and, you know, uncomfortable. The next week you get a day or 2 like this, you know. So, oh well, here we go. Anyway, let's get rocking and rolling here. I've got a little bit of work to share with you guys, and we'll talk a little bit about it. You know, no videos. You're safe. You know, I'm sure you've all had enough videos for, you know, for a day at least. So, anyhow, we're going to start off, and we're going to look at Bernice. Is Bernice here yet? Is she around? I don't see her. Susan is here. Eloise is here. Who is this? We have a mystery guest here. Oh, okay. That's Betty Bates. All right. Bernice sent these in, and this is, you know, she's beginning to work with oil paints. And I can't speak, you know, for sure, but my guess is that this is the first steps in a painting that she's working on with oil paint. And, you know, what she's done is, you know, she's laid in some basic color. And then, see, she's gone back in and probably used some kind of medium to soften it and blend it and move it around a little bit. There it is at 1 stage. you know, of the process. And so here it is a little bit later. So now she's, you know, putting in the land masses in the water, looks like.
Cool.
And again, this is all speculation because she's not here to tell us.
But it's neat to see her process.
Now, you know, and you can approach this many different ways, but you know, and the way that she's doing it is fine. And a lot of people ask that question, you know, should I start from the background, like the sky, and then, you know, build onto it? And you can do that, and that's fine. You know, personally, you know, I don't really take that approach. You know, I usually will take on a landscape and divide my land masses from my sky, and if I have water or something in it, I'll put that in there too. And break those up into simple blocks or shapes of color, and then begin to develop them. And you know, I'll put in kind of a general color for a sky, but normally the sky is the very last thing I'll do in the painting. And the reason for that is that if I have mountains or trees or something that meet that, you know, horizon line, then, you know, putting in the sky last, A, it's usually some of the lightest value in the painting. And B, when you put the paint down and you've got those shapes, then you can also work with whether or not that edge needs to be hard or soft. And so you can really soften the edge on a tree line or something like that, and not come out with these, you know, real hard edges in the background. Again, you know, it's just a different approach. You know, she painted in her sky here, now she's put in her mountains. So if she wanted to stop at this point, you know, and begin to really address the edges of these, now would be a good time to do it. That way she could soften them and get them to sit back. That way, as she moves forward, she can put some crisper, harder edges and get it to move forward for her. Okay.
So Charles, you don't suggest that we put in the background first, the sky first, because usually I do.
Yeah, I know. You know, like I said, different people approach it differently, but yeah, I don't really recommend that. And the reason being, you know, you're painting this beautiful sky, right? And, you know, you really love the sky, and then you start putting in the trees and things, and all of a sudden you're blocking out, you know, really interesting parts of the sky that maybe you don't want to really lose, you know?
Wow.
Because you didn't know where the rest of the composition was. So that's why, like I said, I would break it into, and this is specifically just landscapes, you know, land, sky, and water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just break them into, you know, you can just use a general color, you know, like if you wanted to use a darker green mass for, you know, the ground, you know, trees, mountains, whatever, you know, bluish color for the water, you know, maybe a little bit darker blue than you would use, you know, for the sky, that's fine. And just break it in that way, you know, into these pieces. That way you can really look at the composition. And again, what you're doing is you're solving the big stuff first. It's like, you know, how much sky, how much land, you know, where are things, you know, if there's water in it, where does it sit, you know, and is it working for you, you know, to pull your eye in, or is it working against you, you know, and creating a horizon line or something to stop your eye from moving through the composition. So, see, those are the things you could answer if you worked in those big color blocks first. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but it would be more difficult for me because I don't know how to deal with the trees. I guess you just poke some colors in between the branches or something. Some sky, I mean.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so when you get, let's say that you are looking at trees and you see sky coming through. Yeah, you just paint the little negative shape in there.
Okay.
See?
I'll have to Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not difficult, and in fact, you might have more fun with it. Doing it that way than trying to paint leaves on top of a sky and losing some part of the sky that you don't want to lose. So,
Okay, thank you.
and see, the thing for me, a lot of times, when I'm painting landscapes, one of the key elements in the whole painting is the sky. It's the clouds. It's how it's how it's moving, or getting that perspective and those clouds moving back in the distance. Or maybe it's the sunlight, either a sunset or sunrise. And so painting the sky last makes sense on a lot of different technical levels, because one, you're using lighter value colors, you're using thicker, more opaque paint, and as you put it in, then you can make some choices about where you're going to place those elements in the sky, to enhance your composition and get the eye to go where you want it to go in the painting.
But isn't it difficult to do a continuation of clouds or a continuation of whatever's in the background when you can't, that only poke in the colors?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, when you're painting that sky, you've already got your tree line established, or your mountains, or whatever is there, meeting, the edge of the sky. And so when you start laying in those colors, you just, if it's a bluish colored sky, then you mix up, enough of the blue, and you lay that in and do your openings, things like that. If you have clouds, then you paint a cloud like you normally would. You just kind of work around, the leaves or foliage or the edge of the mountain. And, and it comes out looking, basically the same. But again, you, at that point, you have that option, because the paint's all wet against the edge of those trees or things, about making a decision about, all right, do I really need a sharp edge here, or do I need something that's very soft? Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
May I make a comment? The lady that we were looking at in the morning session said something very profound. And what you said just now reminded me of it, Charles. She said that something like painting is like having a conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true for me, because I talk to myself, even out loud, sometimes when I'm trying to draw.
Yeah, that's why I keep saying that artists, a lot of people think of artists as being lonely. That's not true. Artists are the least lonely people on the planet. And the reason being, they always have a conversation going on in their head. It's like every time they see something, every time they're trying to paint, there's this conversation going on back and forth, about, okay, I need to put this, just here, and it's this value, it's this color, it's a hard or a soft edge. You don't have time to talk to anybody else.
You know what? You're also talking to the smartest person in that room.
Probably at the time, yes. Yeah. Okay, so Bob, since you piped up, we're going to pick on you next, because you're next up anyway. We're in
lucky me.
Lucky you. Okay, so here's Bob's drawing. We've seen this drawing before, but he's made some more modifications and changes to it, developed it a little bit more. So Bob, tell us what's going on with it.
Well, I added charcoal. In fact, well, it's actually the Wolf carbon pencils.
Okay.
That's what I used on the background.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm an unhappy camper with this puppy, because basically what's happened is all the edges become blurred. Mm-hmm. And I need to have much better, cleaner edges. Mm-hmm. On things. So anyway, what I'm going to do, unless you tell me absolutely do not do this, Bob, I'm going to add ink to this so I can clean up the edges a lot, so they stand out. So anyway, that.
All right. I'm not ever going to tell you absolutely don't do anything, okay? But
However,
do you own something called a Q-tip in your house?
oh, I use Q-tips all the time.
Okay. So here's what I would kind of recommend doing. Now, you said that this is it's a charcoal pencil, but it's one of the harder types.
Yeah, it's a carbon. Yeah, it's the Wolf carbon pencil.
Right. So here's what I would do is I would take that Q-tip and I would start at that area like in between her head and her arm. And with that Q-tip, I would begin to blend and rub that just very gently. Don't scrub it. Just, just move it around and see if you can't smooth some of the texture and stuff out in the background. Okay. And once you've done that, if you have spray fixative or whatever, then I would go ahead and, spray fix it.
Well, I have already fixed it once.
You have.
So I put a light fixative on it, and then I've gone back over it again, some with the carbon pencil, and so.
Okay, now my question is, did you fix the carbon pencil?
The whole drawing.
Okay, including the layer with the carbon.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Well, you may find it harder to move now. Okay. But, I would try it anyway, see what you can do. And then I would spend a little bit of time really looking at this and figuring out where is it that I really want a sharp edge. Okay. And you're going to want sharp edges in some places and not in others.
Right. Oh, yeah, correct. I agree.
Okay. And so, like, for example, when I'm looking at this drawing, it's like the sharp edge that I really want to see is I really want to see like the movement of her hip coming out and in front of this guy.
Yep.
I want to see a stronger, sharper edge there. All right. So what I might do is I might take a graphite pencil, a dark one, dark and kind of soft. And I might make, a very strong, distinct outline along that edge. And then let it just kind of fade off, okay, as it gets down into this part of the dress. But along this line right here, I might really sharpen that up. Along the top of this arm, again, I might really sharpen, the edge of just this section of the arm where the light is. And then when it gets into the dark, then I would let it stay soft. On this backside, I'd let it stay soft. On the underarm, I'd let it stay soft. The purpose for that would be, you see, you're beginning to set up, and emphasize some of the movement in this. And you're using those active lines, and then you're letting the passive lines, be softer. And that way it sort of draws your eye and moves your eye through the piece overall. With him on his figure, probably looking at this, like the underside of his arm right here, I'd probably keep that softer. But this top line right here, I would really sharpen that up, including, the part of the shirt that moves, across in front of him and then breaks inside at the elbow. Now, that doesn't mean that the value needs to be darker. It just needs a sharper, more intentional edge there. Another place I might do that with him is maybe down the outside of this leg right here. down to the foot, and on this side of his body, really sharpen up that edge. This foot seems to be moving backward, and so again, keeping that a little bit softer, I think is okay. But be selective about where you put those hard edges and soft edges.
Okay. All right.
Let's see if that doesn't work. Worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, then you can always put more ink in. But I guess my reservation about the ink is that in doing that, you may get these really hard edge silhouettes that really flatten out the whole drawing.
Okay.
And you may not want that. Okay.
All right.
It's just my thoughts.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna go on down the line here. Let's see. Try to get down to Miss June. No, we got Jacqueline. Okay, Jacqueline and India. Is India here? Jacqueline, are you here? No. June is. I saw her. All right.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, June.
Can we see India's?
Yeah, we will. Let's see if she shows up. Okay.
I know she was working on that corner a lot.
Right. Yeah. And I'll be happy to show it to you guys. But let's see if she shows up. If she doesn't show up, you'll see it before the end of the class. Anyway, June. So you got more rocks here, darling. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I like your rocks. You got a thing for rocks now. You got some nice things going on here. Your transition, of color, warm into cool, and this all feels kind of soft. What we were talking about, with Bob, about having some very sharp, crisp edges and softer edges. Okay.
Yes.
The thing I think that would improve this a lot, you've got this shadow here, right? And it wraps around, and that's kind of nice. And I even like the fact that you left this little bit of reflected light here. The thing is, right now, this edge, this little sharp edge here, is the sharpest thing in the drawing. And what I would recommend is that you take maybe some kind of, it could be a gray, it could be a neutral kind of color, maybe brownish in this case, right? And you really sharpen up the lit edge of this and make a much crisper, harder line
Okay.
along the outside of it, to really kind of clean up and define the edge. And you don't have to do it like all the way around, okay? I would kind of just do it like right in here and just bend the corner a little bit. More to the front than to the back, okay?
Oh,
So
okay.
maybe starting like right in here and coming forward, it's strongest and darkest like right here.
Okay.
And then it kind of fades on off again. And then I would do the same thing on this rock as well,
Okay.
just along this edge, because the light seems to be coming in from the upper left-hand side on these. And so yeah, you might want a little crisper edge right along there. Now, when I say crisp, it doesn't necessarily mean dark in value.
Okay.
Yeah, just a harder, more defined edge. So in this case, rather than using like a brown or something, because it's gray, I would probably find a gray pencil probably about a number 4, number 5, and just put a bit of an outline along here. And particularly like right here where the highlight is. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Just to, emphasize that and, really punch it up a little bit.
Thank you.
And then we have this lovely lady here. Now, you're using colored pencil, is that correct?
Yes.
And then for the background, is this watercolor?
No, it's still it's the color pencil.
Okay, And so these are not water soluble color pencils. These are just regular color pencils, right?
Yeah, just a regular color
Okay.
pencil.
Okay. So I want you to notice something, okay? Since this is all colored pencil. Notice where the light on her face is, right?
Yeah.
And where the light is really like right here and
Mhm.
to the corner of that eyebrow. And then down the cheekbone, like right in here, okay? And then the rest of this, it gets a little bit foggy down here because the focus isn't very good on your photograph of that magazine page. But, really, I think the strongest light is really right in here. And then as it moves away from that, it gets a little bit darker. And then as it moves the other direction onto the side plane of the face, it gets really pretty dark in here. And
Yes.
see, you need to build up some color and value in here. So
That's
that
part.
you-
Yeah.
yeah. So again, you're telling somebody, okay, so the light is really hitting this area right here, and then this plane is turning and
Mhm,
becoming a
mhm.
side plane, right? And
Yes.
falling into shadow. The same thing on this side of the face. It's not as dark, but you see the light's not hitting it, as directly and strong as it is right here, around the corner of this eye, right? So,
Yes.
so you could darken this side of the face
This,
a little bit.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
So you see, it's creating the range of values across here.
Uh-huh.
Tell somebody that it's got some shape or some form. Right now, you don't have enough contrast between this side of the face, the lit edge, and the
Lens.
side.
Yes.
Okay. And
Okay.
as soon as you do, then it will begin to look like, oh, okay, it's got some shape or form,
Mhm.
right? Same thing with the neck, right? The neck has got a little bit of light, but it's not nearly as light here as it is up here on the cheekbone, right?
Yes, yes.
So again, you need a little more color and a little darker value in there. Okay.
Okay, got it.
And then we're going to look at this guy. Okay. And it's kind of, you've handled it a little bit better. Okay. As far as you've got the shadow and beginning to get this side of the face darker. You got to kind of get that forehead darker. You see the value here is almost the same as over here, right? And they're not. This whole side of his face is much lighter than any of this down here, right?
Yeah.
And so again, the base or underlying value here is going to be darker, kind of moving in a crescent shape. So all of this is going to be darker. All of this is going to be lighter in comparison. And then you might have, little subtle variations in between it, but you still have to get this overall darker than over here. And if you don't, it's still going to look flat. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing, because we were talking about putting edges and outlines on things, right? And, in around the eye and down the bridge of the nose, your outline, I think, is fine, right? And even in this eye. But along the side of the face here, you really don't need a dark line.
Dark line. Okay. Yeah, got it.
Around the mouth, you really don't need a dark outline.
Mm.
And there's overall, the mouth is a little bit darker in value than, the skin tone around it. So just, darken the overall value of this other than a few little light areas that you see. And again, that will make the mouth a little bit softer and a little, less flat.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see what else. Well, we got Maria's breakfast. We don't need to talk about that. Rebecca. You here?
I'm here.
Okay. So Rebecca did an eye. Okay. But she did an eye and she was using like a white, I guess, is this like a white pastel or something like that?
It's a white drawing pencil, I believe.
Yeah.
Or, yes, I believe that's what it was. And it entranced me because I did it according to a lesson on the internet. And the ladies in the center of her eye, above the pupil, that's supposed to be the reflection of her eyelashes. And I had never seen anything like that before, so I was attempting to get that in there too.
Ah, okay. But now you've drawn her eyelashes, and her eyelashes you've drawn in as being white. Was she a blonde?
No, now this is supposed to be the opposite of the color that it really is. Her eyelashes and her eyes were dark.
Mhm.
It looks like a negative.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I think that's what the whole idea was, that it's supposed to be like a negative.
Ah, okay. All right. Yeah. So I don't know why you would want to do that, but okay. All right. So in other words, all right, where it's black should actually be light,
Right.
and where it's light, it should actually be dark.
Correct.
Okay. So, and I heard you when you said that this was taken from a lesson. Okay. I guess my question is, if I were going to do something like this, okay, and I was going to start off on a black piece of paper, then what I would be looking for on that, in that drawing, is where my lights are, and I'd use my white pencil to put in my lights and leave the black paper as my dark. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, do you have any reference for this? Do you have a picture of an eye or something like that?
I'll go back and see if I can find it, and I'll send it to you.
Okay. Well, what I was going to ask you to do is take another black piece of paper,
Okay.
and this time, rather than trying to draw it in reverse, right? Draw it the way you see it. Put the lights where you see them, but keep the darks where you see them. And let the darks just be the paper. So you don't have to add the darks in. Okay?
I see what you're saying.
That's clear.
I'll try it again.
Okay. Yeah. See what you come out with.
Okay.
And I mean, like June, let's go back up here. Like June used this gun, right?
Right.
And it might be actually easier for you if you find like a black and white photo,
Okay.
right? And if you took that black and white photo, and let's just kind of zoom in on his eye, right? See, you could draw that eye, and rather than using the white pencil to make the eyebrow, you'd be putting the light where the skin is in between the hair, right? And then you would put in a value here for the skin tone. And then you put a value in for the white of the eye, which is not really white, because notice that it's darker than the highlights of the eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to use that white pencil, but you're not going to really fill it in and make it bright white. It's going to, you're going to build it up until you get a value and a gradation to tell you that that eye is a ball-shaped sphere and that it's round, right? So, try approaching it that way. See what you come up with. Okay?
And you want me to do that with the black piece of paper?
Yeah.
All right.
Using that same white pencil,
Right.
but instead of drawing the dark parts, you're really drawing the light parts.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Draw the light parts on the dark paper.
Right.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk to Susan. All right. So Susan did a very fetching bonnet here. Okay. So Susan, talk to us about your bonnet.
Yeah, I was watching a Western the other day with and I just happened to see this type of bonnet, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I just kind of trying to draw it from remembrance or whatever, but I didn't have a picture for it. I just tried to put it down on paper the way I remembered it. But and I don't know if you can see, but it's got lines going in the background, all through the lines in the bonnet. I don't know if you can see those. It looks kind of.
I do.
But I just thought that would be kind of an interesting touch for it. But it shows up more on the original than it does on the picture. But
Okay.
and it's pencil.
So it's graphite.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So it's and that's.
All right. So in looking at this, you've got some variation in your line weight, you know, and so it's creating an optical illusion, you know, because we all know this is a flat piece of paper, but you know what I think what you're after here is you're trying to get a range of values across the surface of this bonnet so that it begins to feel like it's actually turning, right?
Right.
Okay. And you're getting some of that. Okay. Now, do you have any old hats at home? Or new
Not
hats?
really. No.
You wear hats?
No, I don't usually wear them. But,
You don't usually wear them. Okay. Yeah. I mean, hats used to be real fashionable for ladies. You know, a lot of ladies don't wear hats anymore. A lot of men don't wear hats anymore either. But hats can be really interesting. If you don't have a hat at home, then probably the next best thing is try to find some kind of photographic reference of somebody in a hat.
okay.
Make sure it's the whole hat though, okay? Not just like one little corner of it or anything else peeking into the picture, but you know, you can see the brim and the crown, you know, the top you put on your head. And then try to draw that hat. And using that same technique is fine. You know, but look at the change in value, right? Where the light areas are, where the dark areas are. And then try to put down an either thick or thin line to really kind of represent that value in that area. Okay?
Okay.
And try it and see. I mean, you know, you've got a good idea here, and I think you could pull that off and make it, you know, pretty successfully if you had something to look at and understood the value structure and the shape and the form, and then you represented that with your change in value. You know, I think that could work real well. You know, out of your head, you know, it's like, okay, you got a basic idea there, but it lacks sort of that sense of structure right now that I think you would get out of either looking at a real object and trying to draw it, or you know, some kind of photographic reference. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
This is Bob. Can I make a suggestion? Just out of
Sure.
because instead of using verticals lines for the whole thing, I think I would have on the edges where I would have tried to use contours. I think it would give the hat a little more feeling of structure.
Yeah, she could. You know, she could use a contour line if she wanted to for some of those shapes. And you know, in fact, she kind of has. She hasn't emphasized them as much as she has her vertical lines. And you know, yeah, I think she could go either way with it. she's using those vertical lines to create value, on the shape of the hat. And they kind of tie into the background, so it becomes kind of a more contemporary idea of a hat, because it's kind of this optical illusion of, I'm fooling your eye by thinking that you're seeing a rounded hat when in fact, I'm also telling you that it's a flat piece of paper.
Okay.
But-
right.
Yeah, let's, try it again and, let's see where it goes. And,
Oh,
and maybe for the first step, you try just the vertical lines without the outline. And then maybe we'll, if you feel like you would want to or you need to, then we'll come back in and we'll put the contour lines around it and see what that does to it, okay?
okay.
All right. It's all a learning process here. So,
Okay.
and then you got your trees here, which you're getting kind of like me. You got this thing for trees here.
I'm a tree person. Yeah.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, yeah, it's like I stare at trees all day long because I'm looking out the back window here.
And, I rubbed them this time to start with. How you told me to rub the other one.
Right.
So I did that this time, just at the beginning. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so you see, areas like this move backward, right? And then these sharper edges and lines pop forward, right?
Right.
See,
Yeah.
creating contrast. Using the same materials, but you can still create contrast. Hard, soft edges, lighter, darker areas. And with a drawing medium like graphite, that's about really all you got to work with, because you don't have color and you don't have shifts in color temperature. So really you've got hard, soft edges and you got changes in value. The other thing you have is you've got, texture. And the more texture or the more textural it feels, the more it comes forward. The less textural it is, the more it sinks back. And that's where that hard, soft, comes into play. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see.
Charles,
Yes?
did you get the pictures that I sent this morning? I think I sent 4.
Well, I thought we talked about some of those.
No, just one.
Just the one.
The eye.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's the only one I got from you.
Okay. Though the last time I sent you got 45, so I've been very hesitant to send.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't. Yeah, I mean, 4
I'll
or
try
5,
to send them again.
yeah, 4 or 5 at a time. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Naomi used to do that. It's like she would send them to me like 3 or maybe 4 times.
Oh,
And some emails, some would be in one email, others would be in another, and I'd have to download them all and then sort through them, and it's like, which ones have I got 2 or 3 of, and then get rid of the other extras, So,
I'm going to send the 4 that I sent this morning again.
okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's look at Jacqueline's pieces, and we'll try to talk about these again, when she's actually here. So, she's working with trying to draw some faces. She's got some interesting characters. This guy in the top hat is very nicely done. She's got some nice expression going on, in the gesture of the pose as well. The lady with, her hand propping up the head. So, she's moving in a nice direction on this. I wish she were with us and could tell us more about it. But it looks like it's, fairly early on. She hasn't developed it much. But, she's got a good start. again, she's trying to understand, how to draw a human figure, get the proportions.
Like the building.
Yeah.
Trying to see where it flexes at.
Yeah. Oh, looky who it is. It's Bernice Watson. All right. Good. We need to talk to you a little bit. We went over your pieces earlier, but now maybe we can talk to you about them, okay?
Okay.
All right. But like I said, Jackie, she's got, a nice sense of proportion here. She's beginning to get the proportions and things worked out. And she's beginning to understand how to use what we call constructive anatomy. So it's like figuring out, what's really going on, shape for the hips, a shape for the rib cage, cylinders for the arms, all the way out to the hands and the fingers. Same thing with the legs. So we'll talk to her, hopefully, Monday or next Friday. All right, and then John, you wanted to see India's piece that she's been reworking, and I'm looking at this, and we talked about doing some things, and it doesn't look like she really did any of that. Because we kind of talked about getting rid of a lot of this and moving it down so that it kind of falls. These all seem to line up, right? And here they don't. This seems to be much higher than that. So she hasn't really resolved that yet. And so I wanted to talk to her about that.
She's here.
She's here. She arrived. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, from that little black mark in the sky all the way down, I painted it white and started it over again.
That little black mark in the sky?
Well, in the water, where the water is.
You mean
from
here?
there, everything below there, I painted it all white and started over again.
Okay. So my question is, when we talked about this,
Mm-hmm.
the idea of doing all of that was so that all of this could move down so that it would be at about the same height as this. See?
Oh.
Because that's what happens in the sky. See? And you've got this way up here, and you've got this way down here.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
So that's why we were going to do all that.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that part.
Okay. Yeah, because we talked about it being almost kind of like a direct mirrored image, right?
Yeah.
Whatever's up here, right? And so wherever this is in relationship to these, you've got to do the same thing in the water, because that's how they're going to be reflected. One thing's not going to move way up here and the others stay way back there.
Even if it's water pushing it?
No.
I'll bring a paddle and help push the water for you.
Well, yeah, you see.
I tried. Okay.
Right. Okay. And we're not really giving you a hard time, but
Charles, the part that you're talking about, that's that's the same area, same above as the one that's on the right. Isn't that underneath the boardwalk?
I'm sorry.
Isn't that underneath the boardwalk? I thought she was painting a piece that was all the way to the far right, which is kind of up.
Yeah.
I thought the other piece. I thought the other piece underneath the boardwalk.
Okay, but
what he's saying is the cloud that's on the left, the one that's a circle, when you look at it in conjunction with the cloud that's all the way to the right, it's like right in the, it's like almost lying with it. And where I have it, the cloud on the right is much further up than the cloud that's on the left. Whereas if it were a reflection of the sky, the one on the right would be much further back.
Yeah, it would be back here.
Yeah, I see what he's saying, but I just kind of forgot about that. And I mean, I literally painted that whole thing white and
Started
started
over, yeah.
over.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
No,
Okay,
I'm not.
it's a learning process.
You can see on the edge of the pier there, it looks like it's the start of that cloud, but it didn't continue under the pier.
Right.
Well, actually, be
Yeah.
honest with you, on the left edge of the pier,
Mhm.
they did not have it in the reference photo. It was just a small piece of cloud that didn't look like it was the other cloud at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all you're getting is you're just getting this little tip of it right here.
Yeah, and I kind of smoothed that down and make it stretch like that when I did that.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, Charles. I've had to put this one to the side.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm gonna redo that whole bottom again. Because I was trying, the way that I was looking at the reference photo, and
Yeah.
I see what you're talking about though. So it's a I thought I was finished.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What would happen if she stretched out the cloud that's on the left-hand side to make it look like the one on the right in the water?
You could. Yeah. I mean, you could take this and move it kind of up here,
Hey,
you know, and just extend that cloud on out. I mean, it would accomplish sort of the same thing. So, yeah, either one would work. Yeah. But the thing is, you know, again, it's got to be a reflection of this.
I'll consider it. I promise.
All right. Yeah, I mean, think about it for a little bit. I mean, you know, it's your painting. You can move clouds wherever you want them, really.
Yeah, but I wanted to look right. Because I kind of went. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the reference again, but I do see what you're talking about, so I will definitely consider it. But I had to move it to the side for a minute and start on something else.
Okay. Can you do me a favor? And
Sure.
Can you send me the reference photo as well?
Yeah, I sure will.
Okay. And that way,
Okay.
That way I can come from a more informed place.
No problem. No problem.
All right. Okay.
Charles, I had sent you one on Wednesday. Did you get that? The mountains and the river?
Yeah, but it wasn't a drawing really. And yeah, I'm trying. I think I have that in the.
Yeah, it's a
Monday.
painting.
Yeah, and
But it's a watercolor.
yeah, and like India's piece and things, you know, I threw in there kind of the last minute today because I really didn't have a lot of things from you guys. But yeah, we'll probably talk about India's piece again on either Monday or Wednesday, since it is a painting. And then the same is probably true with like Bernice. Let's go talk to Bernice now, since Bernice is here. Okay. So Bernice, tell us what's going on here.
Uh-oh.
Did she leave us?
Oh, no.
Bernice.
Oh, no.
I'm muted. I'm off mute now. But
Oh.
what I did, I had a reference photo,
Uh-huh.
and I took my board, my canvas board, and I put 2 layers of gesso on it and everything. But when I went to paint on it, the paint wouldn't move. It was like wherever I put my brush, the paint stuck there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I didn't know how to solve that.
Uh-huh.
So
Now,
so
is
what?
this oil paint or is this acrylic?
Or
Okay. So, you know,
like you can tell wherever I start to brush at, because that's the darkest part. I couldn't get it to flow, you know.
okay. Well, okay, and the simple answer is you didn't have enough paint on there at that point. You know,
Now let me tell you what I ended up doing. I ended up getting a small, this one is 12 by 16, I think, or 14 by 16. But I ended up getting a 9 by So I'm not gonna, I'm gonna try them small. I got a 9 by 12. And what I painted, I just painted, I put some, just white oil paint on it.
Mhm.
You know, just a thin layer of oil paint on it. And then I put a thin layer of white oil paint. And then I painted over the oil paint and it moved a little better like that.
Yeah, because you had a wet, you were painting wet into wet,
Okay.
and you weren't putting fresh oil paint on top of a dry canvas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing you could have done,
It said let gesso dry 24 hours, so I was trying to follow what they said, you know.
oh yeah, well, gesso would, you know, would dry faster than that if it's gesso. But, you know, again, once the gesso is dry, you're still putting, you know, oil paint out of the tube onto a dry surface, right?
Right. Right.
Now, if you need it to move around, then you got to get enough oil paint on there that you can do that. Or the other thing you could have done before you started putting any color on there is just take like some linseed oil.
Oh, okay.
Or, you know, and then go over the board with the linseed oil, right?
Okay.
So it's wet, and then you're painting wet, you know, the wet oil paint into the linseed oil, and you'll find it easier to push and move around.
Right.
But on a dry board, you know, until you really get the board wet, you're not going to be able to move it around a lot.
Right. Okay.
Because oil paint tends to be, you know, a little bit sticky by the nature of what it is. You know, it's not like watercolor that's, you know, got a lot of food stuff in it to move around really.
So I have to have something oily already on it before I start painting, or do I just need to use more oil paint?
You just need to use more oil paint.
Okay.
You know, I mean, you know, when you put in those first initial colors, you can't do much with them when it's all dry. And it's kind of the same with working into, you know, like a dry painting. You know, when you're working into a dry painting, a lot of times you'll take a little bit of linseed oil or something, and you'll go over the dry painting with the linseed oil before you start working back into it. And that way you can move the paint around. Otherwise, the paint is just pretty much going to stick where you put it until you get it, you know, enough, you know, moisture on there that it's going to start sliding around and moving the way you want it to.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So now, like, for example, like this painting that I was doing of Maria, the Klimt one, you know, I let it completely dry.
Okay.
And then I went back in and because I wanted to put in the metallic paint, you know, on that wall surface behind it, you know, I took a little bit of Turpenoid and I wet each of those blocks, and then I used the metallic paint and I just kind of scumbled and, you know, layered metallic paint in on top of it. If I had tried to do that on a totally dry surface, then all the edges would have turned out like really hard and harsh, you know, but by working into a wet surface, you know, it softened the paint a little bit and it was easier to move around and you got a kind of a softer effect with it. So yeah, you got to.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this before we move on. What's the difference between linseed and Turpenoid?
Oh, huge difference. One, linseed oil is an oil, okay? And they actually use linseed oil to make the oil paint, because what oil is the pigment, the dry pigment, mixed with linseed oil and sometimes different types of waxes and things like that to create the paint. So by adding linseed oil to the paint, all you're doing is you're wetting it again. You're making it a soft.
Oh, okay. So it's for wetting. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If the paint's too dry, let's say it's real stiff, you've got one of two options. You can either sit there with a palette knife and work it for a while, keep mixing it until it becomes sort of this buttery consistency, or you can put a drop or two of linseed oil and then work that in with a palette knife, and it will loosen up a lot quicker. and be a lot more malleable and easy to paint with. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to put linseed oil into something that's very oily and very wet already. You know, you only want to use that if it's you know, the paint's been in the tube for a long time and it's kind of dry, you know, and stiff. Another instance where you might want to use it is if you're using a white that's called titanium white, because titanium white tends to be very kind of hard and stiff just by the nature of what it is. And so adding just a little bit of linseed oil into it, working it with a palette knife will, you know, begin to break it down and loosen it a little bit so it will flow a little better for you. And, you know, you're not really going to lose any of the opacity out of the paint by doing that. It's still going to be okay, but it's just going to be a lot easier to work with and not look as dry, you know, when you put down a brush stroke. Okay.
And the terpenoid, what is that used for?
Well, terpenoid technically is really, you really shouldn't be painting with it, you know, unless, you know, I use it sometimes to put down a glaze or to wet the canvas so I can work into it so I'm not working on a dry area. But the reason I use the terpenoid is I want to wet that area, but I want to wet it for a short period of time. You know, I don't want it to stay wet for like days or weeks. And that's one of the problems with linseed oil is that it's going to slow the drying time down in the painting. So if you wet it today and paint into it, it may take a week to dry or more. With the terpenoid, you know, that same paint would dry in a day or two. And then you can go back and work into it. Because the terpenoid or turpentine is literally a paint solvent. It breaks down the paint, okay? And that's the danger is if you break down the paint too much, you know, you may end up with paint that doesn't really adhere to the surface and it can flake off if you get too much into it. So
when you said you were doing Maria's painting, you put the terpenoid on for what reason?
Well, I just wet those areas, the background area of the wall, because I was putting some metallic paint down on it.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I didn't want to work into a dry area because then the metallic paint would end up being like real crisp, hard edges, and I wanted them a little softer because I wanted them to sit in the background.
Okay.
Okay. If I had done it dry, you know, I could have put like a real clean, tight pattern on it, and it would have been fine, you know, to do that. But since I wanted it to sit in the background, you know, I wanted to make it a little more organic, a little more soft. So, you know, so I used the terpenoid to do that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, it looks like, so is this your 9 by 12?
Go to the one above that.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now
that's the one I put the white on first, and then you got to put the white oil on first,
right,
and then just put my oil on top of that, and then blended it.
Yeah, and see that worked perfectly fine because you had something wet to paint into, so you're able to move that color around. So
okay.
You got to have paint to paint. You know.
Gotta say, I didn't know anything about oil, so I would try and error.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, it worked out. Now, what is this?
Now go. That's the that's the reference.
Oh, this is the reference.
That's the reference right there.
It is?
Yep, that's the reference, and that's the reference.
Okay. Now, is this something you painted before?
No, I got that. That's on the internet.
Oh, okay. So this is somebody else's painting.
Somebody else's painting. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see. All right. Okay. Yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, that's on a canvas. All right. Okay. So, all right. So they're creating kind of a sky here, and they're working wet into wet and trying to make a very soft kind of a.
Right.
Okay. And then you said this one is your 9 by 12?
Because a 9 by 12 is so messed up to me, I don't know how to correct it. But if you go down to the
One on the very bottom.
right,
Yeah,
now
so
that's
that,
that's just that's different stages of him working on the painting.
Right.
This is a big reference, and so the one you was on before for mine is that's the one where I tried to copy what he did.
okay, all right, I can see that. All right, so here's, let me take a look at these real quick. Okay.
That's just a stage. The painting not finished. I'm just going by stages.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so you're kind of following along, you know, as this other artist is developing, you know, a painting. Okay. And you're, yeah, it's kind of like Bob Ross, you know, he does a step, you do a step, you know. And then, right. So here's what I'd have to say about that. Actually, kind of where you are, you know, on that is fine. All you basically have to do is, if you took a clean, dry brush when this was wet, then you could blend and soften this a little bit, and it would have, you know, really the only difference between yours and his is that his looks like the paint was a lot wetter, right? And a lot softer, so he was able to blend it more. You haven't blended yours as much. Okay?
Okay.
Now in his later stage, you know, he's laying in some other shapes here. And it's hard to tell how hard or soft they are, because this is kind of a blurry picture. But some of it looks like very hard. Some of it looks, you know, pretty soft. So I don't know whether, you know, he's going to stop at this point or whether he's going to go back.
No. He has some trees and a little cabin.
Okay. All right. But yeah, my concern is, you see, he's got this nice sky that, you know, for the most part is pretty soft. He's got some hard edges in here, which, you know, that's what clouds do. Some places are a little harder, some places are a little softer. But, you know, you could use a little bit of blending back in there. But the main thing is between the landmass, the mountains here, and the sky, he's got this really hard outline. And my thought would be, at some point, he's going to have to come back in here and soften that outline, because right now it's too strong, and it's going to compete with whatever he puts up in front of it, be that trees or whatever else. But it'd be interesting to see how it ends up. On your painting, you know, the main difference is the value of the mountains you've made much darker in comparison to what he put in, for one. But number two is, again, you've kept a very crisp, hard edge along here. And what you could do is you could soften some of these edges, and those mountains would still sit back for you. You know, it's just that they're put in there, you know, really solidly. So you're getting, I mean, you're seeing color, you're seeing the composition, you're getting things where they need to go. But you need to do a couple of extra things, which is, one, you need to work with a clean, dry brush after you put the paint down and blend a little bit more, right? And particularly toward the background, so that as you move to the foreground, when you put the paint down on here, you're going to get some of those crisper edges, and it's going to move forward. Okay. Right now, if you did that, it's going to compete with the edges back here, which are real hard. Okay.
On the bottom third, did I blend a little better on the bottom third?
Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty soft, and you're reflecting the mountains. Now, you know, the mountains that you're reflecting, you've got them much lighter than the value up here. And normally, a reflection in water would be about a value to 2 values darker than whatever it's reflecting. Okay? And the same thing with the sun. See, your color here for the sun is much more intense in the water than it is up here. So you might want to go back in and hit that sun again and brighten it up and make it a little cleaner color. Okay? You know, little things. But, you know, you're using oil paint and getting used to moving it around, and that's good.
Okay. Well, thanks. I try. It's still wet, so I can blend the top part a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, try it. See what happens. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. So that's everybody's work that they sent in. I went and got a bunch of drawings because I was going to show you guys some things. Since we were looking at people like Cecily Brown and all, I wanted to share a drawing. You know, this is a drawing I did at Benson, and this was with water-soluble graphite. And it was a pretty quick drawing. It was a demonstration. And it was real loose, you know. And so, you know, I kind of laid in where the figure was, and then I took a big brush and some water and laid it down and wet, you know, the area around the back to soften it, you know, just get kind of a very painterly feel to it. You know, this is kind of the same effect, same thing, right? Where I just kind of wet the background and softened up all the background area to get, you know, a different feeling than the figure, which let the figure move forward. Let's see what else I got here. This is kind of the very similar, but this is Conte. And again, you know, it's like you can put these backgrounds and things in, and you know, you have the option of making things softer and something sharper and harder. And it's that hard soft, you know, you got to kind of think about that a little bit. You know, there's things I don't like about this drawing, like I overemphasize the outline. I think this is okay, but I needed to kind of soften the inside a bit. This drawing. Now this is with those Prismacolor pencils, so they don't move around, and it's on a nice piece of like gray drawing paper. And again, you know, you got to be kind of selective about what is it you're really going to, you know, focus on. And in this case, I wanted to get the gesture of her hand and her face and this shoulder. And, you know, I wanted to say, okay, she's laying down, her legs are crossed and things, but this isn't, you know, this isn't the focal point. You know, the focal point's up here. So I really did more work, you know, in this area to develop the drawing and get your eye to really look where I wanted you to look at, rather than focus, you know, on the whole figure equally. Same thing is pretty much so true with this. Again, you know, you got the whole figure in there, but, you know, it's the light and the contrast, you know, on the contours of her face that I wanted to emphasize here. So I used a little bit of that white chalk, punched that up, left the edges a little sharper and harder in here than I did really through the rest of the drawing. And the same thing here, you know. You know, where is it hard? Where is it soft? You know, where do you want to focus? So really kind of, you know, this area right up in here. And then, you know, the foot's there, but it's, you know, it's just enough to tell you that there's supposed to be a foot there. These are some quick gesture drawings. These are about 1 minute to 2 minutes, probably about 2 minutes each. And these were done with a brush pen. So you can't erase it, you can't move it around. You know, you just put it down and move on. Those are always good practice, good exercise to do. What else? Same thing like here. Okay. Now this is probably like a minute, 2-minute drawing. And you don't always have to finish a drawing. You know, sometimes the purpose of doing a drawing is to get just a feel or the information that you need so that you understand what's going on there. So, you know, we've got our torso going down to her hip. We've got her leg moving forward under this dress, and how the dress is stretched, you know, from one leg to the next because she's down on the floor. So, you know, looking at where these lines, you know, break inside and create one shape overlapping another. Same kind of thing here. You know, it's like bringing the legs forward, pushing the torso back by overlapping the shape. And then indicating some light and some shadow in a real quick manner. So, you know, just blocking in, you know, whatever is in shadow, you know, with the side of the contact, and then keeping the light, you know, a lighter value. So just little things like that, you know, studying hands and the movement of the hand. Obviously, this looks like a woman's hand, not a man's. Another study, you know, again, just looking at, you know, the drapery, how it moves around the figure. You know, it wasn't really about her face or who she was or anything. It's more about what's going on, you know, with the torso, and how do the clothes and the fabric move around it, you know, to make it feel like it's, you know, three-dimensional. Quick gesture poses again. Again, just using, you know, some things in shadow, some things in light. A little bit longer drawing, you know, maybe a 10-minute drawing. Again, you know, trying to get, you know, where the light, where the dark is, you know, on the figure. And yeah, just give you a feeling of, you know, how she's standing, you know, where the weight is, you know, what's going on with the figure there. Let's see. Yeah. I apologize for the light spots. This is under like a piece of plastic, so it's reflecting the light, but this is a graphite drawing. This was a little longer pose that we did. And again, you know, how does the fabric move, you know, around her head? Where's the focal point? The focal point is really, you know, kind of the upper part of the body. You know, again, a gesture, you know, gesture pose. Just trying to show movement. This is what we call doing a drawing within what we call an envelope. You know, sometimes rather than just starting with like a foot and drawing your way down to the bottom of the hair, you look at the figure and you try to figure out a basic shape, like a triangle, a box, a circle, a curve, line, whatever that is. And then, you know, you try to put that lightly down on the page, and then you draw within it, because you know that the whole figure sits, you know, within that shape. And so, you know, then you start actually developing, you know, where the legs are, where the torso is, the head, the arms, you know, what they're doing. Let's see. That's kind of about, you know, probably enough, you know, quick, you know, little sketch of a face of one of the models. You know, and it's got, you know, a little bit of expression to it. Now, Rebecca, you did the eye, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So here's one of the things I want you to look at when you do an eye.
Okay, yes.
It's like, how are you going to get that eye to feel like it sits and sinks into an eye socket?
Okay.
So,
Well, you know it's a ball,
right.
and you know that the ball has a cover,
Mhm.
and you know that the ball is going to be layered.
Yeah.
And you know it's curved.
Okay. All right. So now try to get that into your drawing of the eye. Okay.
Get that? Yes.
In the black and white.
In the what?
In that white chalk on the black paper.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Try to get a feel for it. You know.
I'll practice that this week. And my other pictures, I guess, never showed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't see them. You know.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, it's either feast or foul with me. It's either too much or too little. I don't know.
Well,
So
yeah.
I seem to send mine at the same time every Friday morning around 9, because I figured you're getting up by then or something.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing the past couple of times. And just this morning, I guess.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry too. I mean, I got the one. I just didn't get the others. So.
The one that you got out of the eye, I did do during the week, but I sent it right at the last minute. Maybe that's what I should do.
No, let's not do that. Sending them earlier would be better.
Okay.
That way I have some time to organize it. That would
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. Just real quick, I wanted to show you guys these. This is some, we were talking about digital art, right? And about, you know, how can you take like a painting that you've done and then create a piece of digital art, right? Well, this is a painting that I had done some years ago. And I took that image, it was just this last year, and I played in Photoshop with it and digitized it, and then played with some of the colors, you know, added some graphics. It didn't have a grid over it. You know, the original painting was just the woman with the umbrella, and there was a lot more to it. So this is a small section of a bigger painting. But, you know, I took it and developed it in Photoshop and made a digital image. So, in fact, this is a JPEG, you know, just like the one that just sold for, what, you know, 63 million or 60.9 or whatever it was, $1 million. You know, I would be happy with, you know, a couple of $100 for this digital. I would be perfectly happy with that. Here's another sample where I took, again, you know, and this is just some loosely painted paint on a piece of like crescent illustration board, and it's actually on the back of it. And it was just an old scrap piece of board. And I just put a little paint down on it and let it drip and run. And then I took another piece of board and I put more paint on it, added some texture, and, you know, kind of cut through it with the end of the brush or a comb or something, and added some color to it. I photographed all of those, and then I put them together in Photoshop and, you know, created an abstract painting out of it, you know, using the stamp from the crescent board and everything else. So again, you know, you can take these photo images and you can manipulate them digitally and create whole other pieces of art, you know, from your paintings, you know, if you want to. This is another example. This is what you see in the background is a little painting that I did as a demo at the Benson Center when we were out plein air painting. And, you know, we were over on Glen Ridge at that studio that I had over there for a while, which was Doris Barrett's house. And this is Gwen and this is Claudia. And they were out there plein air painting the house. Well, I did this demo, and then, you know, I took a photo of that, put it into Photoshop again, played with the color, overlaid this graphic element, you know, with the grid, And so I was just adding things to it and then really pushing colors. And again, came up with a whole totally different image, from that.
It reminds me about Labyrinth.
Kind of, yeah. So again, you can take, any of your images and, or your drawings for that matter of fact, and, put them in a digital format, color them, do all kinds of different things with them. It doesn't all have to be done digitally. You can combine, traditional media, with the use of, computer applications like Photoshop and create, totally different types of images than what you would normally work with, right? And in fact, there are groups of artists who work exactly in this way, where they're combining traditional media with digital, and then coming out with an end product, of a digital image. So, there's, a lot of different avenues that you could follow, for creating pieces of art. This is just another one, okay? So it doesn't all have to be watercolor. It doesn't all have to be oil paint. It doesn't, just have to be a drawing. It could be, a mix of any and or all of those things. However you want to work, and the media that you want to work with, there's no, right or wrong. It's how do you get the things that you want, get the effects that you want and the look that you want. So, okay. So anybody got anything that we want to talk about before we all go away here and start the weekend? No?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Well,
I think I got all my questions answered. I just work on what I'm working on.
You just want to what?
Work on what I'm working on. Work on the all that you talked to me
Oh, yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, do the things that make you feel good, do the things that, I mean, if you have an interest in learning how to use oil paint, use oil paint, I'm just trying to present the idea that there's a lot of different ways of doing this, and you don't have to be, you don't have to be stuck with one medium.
Right.
Charles, I have a question about Photoshop. Is it like an app that you buy one time, or do you have to rent it? How does that work?
Well, once upon a time, Photoshop was an application that you could buy from Adobe, and you could buy it for one time, and you would own it. Now, Adobe and the things that kind of got me a little bit upset with them is that they've gone to this where you can't own the software anymore. Now you lease it from them on a yearly basis. Okay. But I, being a pirate and being a dinosaur, have old versions of Photoshop that I keep on my computer and use, and I own those. So.
Were they real expensive at the beginning?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like hundreds?
No.
Thousands?
Well, to get the Adobe Creative Suite, say 10 years ago, it was around about $2,400.
Wow, that's not inexpensive.
No. But that's Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Adobe Acrobat. That's about 12 different applications, in that,
Yeah. So you got a lot for your money.
Yeah. So you could make videos, manipulate digital images, create like printable documents, do all kinds of things, with those applications. It was anything that a graphic designer or illustrator would need, or an art director, was in that package.
Wow.
including sound editing.
Wow. That was a lot.
So
I thought in Photoshop, you know, like how you have the circles right there. You could just draw yourself a circle, and put your paint inside the circle, and then just take a picture and force a picture inside. Force a picture inside the circle.
you could.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean,
It probably take a lot longer to do it that way, but
no, I mean, well, like for example, these rings here, I could have made them more transparent, but I wanted them to sit in front of everything else and kind of create one layer overlapping another.
Right.
And
Charles, what is the reason for the grid? I've seen the grid a couple of times on those different.
it was just a graphic element that I was playing with.
Yeah.
It's like, marks or, brush strokes or anything else. In this case, it's kind of like taking something that's, very precise and very mechanical and juxtaposing it against something that's very loose and painterly and impressionistic.
Yeah.
So
Very interesting effect.
yeah, it just gives you a contrast in the way that each of those parts of the image were created. So okay.
Good.
Anybody else? All right. So all I can say is I hope everybody has a great weekend.
Thank you.
Stay safe,
You too.
and send me some stuff, for Monday if you're working on something, if you got any questions, anything like that. And we'll try to get it off of email, okay?
Okay.
All right. So you guys take care.
Have a good weekend.
Bye. See you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, June.